Welcome to class, everybody. I'm glad you're here. There's a handout that's going around. It's specifically on bone broth, why you need it, how to use it, and how to make it. Okay, so on the handout, there's a front side and a back side, and I'm gonna ask you guys to help me a little bit because my hands are gonna be busy up here playing with chicken and vegetables and all the things. So I need you guys to help me with reading through some of the front side of it that says why you need bone broth. We're going to start with, and we'll be flipping back and forth from the front to the back because I need to be going through how to do it while we're talking about the stuff. So you can watch me as we go. I like to start with gloves. My husband is usually in charge of taking everything off of the bones and separating out all of the stuff we're going to use. It's what I call the yucky stuff. The bones and the skin and the cartilage and the giblets, all of that is the yucky stuff, and that's what we're actually after for the bone broth. Okay, so when you start, you want to have any type of meat on the bone. You can do it with a chicken, which is what we're going to do today. Oh, I have this chicken that I roasted last night. Everyone see? It's just a whole chicken. It came with the giblets, so I put them in there too to cook them. I'm not going to eat them, but they're going to go in the pot with all the yucky stuff that we're going to make the broth from, okay? And last night also, because it's easier when it's warm, I strained off most of the liquid that came from the roasting. I just warmed it back up a little bit because it's easier to get the meat off of the bone when it's a little bit warm. So there's a little bit more juice that I'm gonna pour into this strainer and hopefully not lose my chicken, okay? Some of it can stay in there, it doesn't matter because it's gonna go back in here in the end. So strainer so that we end up with clean juices and then the yucky stuff, okay? So I'm going to pull the chicken out. I was starting to say you can start with chicken on the bone. It doesn't have to be a whole chicken. It can be wings, it can be drumsticks, doesn't matter, but it needs to be on the bone, and ideally with the skin, because the skin contains collagen, it contains a lot of the things that we're trying to get in the broth. Okay, if you guys have questions as we go, speak up. Hopefully we're interactive. We taught the same class yesterday and it was an excellent class because of the questions that were asked. Okay, so I'm going to put the yucky stuff in one bowl and the meat in another. You can use chicken, you can use beef. So if you have a beef roast on the bone or any pork on, I get confused if I put them in the wrong spot. Meat here, yucky stuff there. Fish, you can make fish stock, and you would just want to include the fish skin, the fish head, the fish eyes, the tail, the bones, all of the yucky stuff that you never want to eat. But it's packed full of nutrients that help our bodies, okay? And it doesn't taste gross, it tastes good when you make it into the broth. You guys are looking at me with serious concern and disbelief. Ask me your questions.
You lost us at scales, man.
So it's actually a lot of Asian dishes will use the fish. It's not so much a an American thing. You know, usually if you go to the grocery store, you'll find beef broth and you'll find chicken broth and you'll find vegetable broth. But you can do pork broth, you can do any meat. You just want to have it roasted first and then separate them and use the meat for whatever. I'm going to use the meat to make chicken enchiladas and Thai chicken soup and whatever the heck I want. Probably a barbecue chicken salad because I've roasted 2 chickens in the last 2 days and I got a lot of chicken to use up. So I'll probably make some chicken noodle soup and keep it in the freezer for those times when there's illness or I just need a quick meal. But that's the basis of how we're getting started. Roasted meat on the bone with the skin, separate them out. Yes.
Do you have a chicken preference or like meat preference, like where you get it, or not really?
I absolutely have a preference.
Okay.
My recommendation is get the cleanest animal you can find. So this one is an organic chicken. It's not pasture raised or anything, but it's just an organic chicken. It was quite plump, although it didn't release much juice when I roasted it. In fact, I'm going to show you right now the amount of juice that came off of it off of its original roasting. Okay, see that? Not much. But you also see its juice, and I'm turning it upside down. That's because that's the gelatin that we pulled from it without even actually making it into bone broth yet, that we're after. Okay, and we'll pull that back out in a little bit. But you can get organic. This one came from Fred Meyer. You can get organic sometimes from Costco. We'll have some nice options. I don't generally recommend that you use a rotisserie chicken because they're not going to be the highest quality animal you can find. But that being said, everybody's budget is different. So get the best animal, the cleanest animal you can get. Okay? But always the cleaner the better, because we're trying to pull everything from the bones, everything from the skin. You saw on that dish that I just pulled out that had the gelatin in it, on the surface is a layer of fat that naturally will be there. We store our toxins in our fat, so do animals. So the healthier the animal was, the less of their nasty toxic stuff you're going to get in any fat that might remain in the broth. Okay? Does that answer your question?
Yes, that's great. Thanks.
So another source that I will always give is eatwild.org. is I think it's worldwide, it's for sure nationwide source that by geography you can find local farmers and ranchers to buy good clean pastured pork and chickens and sheep and beef, all of it. Okay? But I usually get it at the grocery store and just get the best one I can find. That's the neck, that's going in the yucky spot. So any other questions before we move on?
Do you use like wild game?
Absolutely. Yeah, and most of those are going to be clean. You don't need to worry too much about, oh, is it organic? Yeah, it's organic. Yeah, any meat, any animal that has bones, you can do it. Okay? All right. We will start. I'm sorry, Nancy. Will you be my first reader on under why you need bone broth? It is shown to benefit. Read the first one.
Skin health, increased hydration, elasticity, and appearance.
Okay, so our skin, also known as our integumentary system, is the largest organ in our body. It's also one of our primary organs of elimination. We sweat all the time through our skin. We sometimes get rashes because we're eliminating stuff from inside, outside through our skin. But we also want our skin to look good and be healthy, right? We're all getting older every day. Our skin is getting older every day, and we want it to retain as much youthful vigor and vitality as possible. And that can be enhanced with the bone broth. The collagen, elastin, gelatin all help with that. Okay? Any questions on that? Next.
Joint health, improve integrity of cartilage and bone, decrease pain, stiffness, and inflammation.
Okay, that's all of the joints, not just your knees that might ache, but all of the joints in your body. It's fairly self-explanatory, I think, but you guys are here to learn. So does that bring up any questions for you guys? No? Good. Moving on.
Bones increases bone mineral density.
Is bone mineral density important for any reason at all?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes,
Yes.
because if you don't have enough, you get in trouble.
Yes.
But it sounds like you can get more, that your body will build it, which is a nice thing because I've been told, no, you can't.
Okay, false.
Right.
Your body is continually, as long as it's alive, it's continually generating new cells of all of your organs and tissues in your body. There is continual turnover. You could tell I mean it, right? I'm sorry, I'm like, I don't really mean this. Literally every 7 years, you get a new body. There are some things like your red blood cells, they have a lifespan of 180 days. So they can change quickly. There are other things like the nerves, the brain, like that tissue has slower turnover. So, and there's everything in between, all right? So if you're constantly working on upgrading it over time, you can get significant upgrade. Okay, to all of it. We can improve as we age. Yes.
You're telling the story about your bones.
Yes, okay. So I, in October, had to go in for some dental work. And my very back molar on the bottom had to be pulled. And my poor dentist earned his money that day. He worked and worked and worked and worked for a good 20 to 25 minutes, actively trying to pull it out. I saw sweat dripping from his head. It didn't drip on me, but he was working hard. And when he finished, we got all done, I was getting ready to leave, he said, I have to tell you, you have exceptionally hard bones. And I said, well, thank you. And it's partly because I use bone broth everywhere I can. I also add in other sources of collagen and gelatin everywhere I can. And I've also been using the whole body vibration unit, which also helps with rebuilding bone density. I've been using it pretty faithfully for about 15 years. Okay, so I do have very strong bones. Yes.
I just want to say I went to a physician for osteoporosis, which is what I'm dealing with.
Yes.
And he said that the whole body vibration is an actual it actually is accepted by the osteoporosis organization as a level 2 or tier 2
Therapeutic
Yeah,
device.
therapeutic device.
Yes.
So it is legitimate with
It's-
them.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a legitimate thing. This can do a lot too. So if you do both, even better. I mean, we all want to get better as we get older. We don't want our flame to flicker and go out and suffer lower quality of life. We want to live as vibrant and healthy for as long as we can, and then just die peacefully in our sleeps, right? Is it just me?
No.
Yeah. So I'll do anything I can to help it. And to me, this is one of the easiest ways to do it, because this, okay, I got 2 chickens because the one from yesterday, but these 2 chickens are gonna give me so much bone broth, because I'm gonna show you how to turn it into perpetual bone broth and get a good 5, 6, maybe 7 pots worth of broth out of the one chicken. Okay, yes.
I have a question on that. So on your sheet of paper that says you cook it from 12 to 24,
24.
hours,
Mhm.
during that time, is that how many times, or do you go through the week, or how long?
Oh, that's a good question.
Is it a
So,
continuation of those times that you're still cooking it?
that's
That
a,
you're,
I gotcha. That's a good question. So on the back of your sheet that has the method, at the very end of it, it says you can repeat steps 3 through 9 or whatever until you pull out the thickest bone in your pot and squeeze it with your fingers, and it crumbles. When it gets to that point, you've taken everything out of it that you're gonna get. You're done with it, put it in the trash. So that says for the first batch, cook it for 12 to 24 hours, low and slow, okay? We're not trying to force anything. And it's not, you don't have to be super exact or precise. It could be 18 hours, like anywhere in that window. Strain it for the next batch. Cook it again for 12 to 24 hours. Okay, so the 24 hours isn't the lifetime of the bones, it's
Okay.
for each batch.
okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
So every batch is anywhere from 12 to
Yes.
24.
Yep, you got it. Does anyone want the wishbone?
No.
All right, we'll cook it too. Any other questions before we move on?
So how does the bone broth that you buy at the store compare?
Okay, good question. So there are some, Kettle and Fire is one of the best broths that you can find on the store shelves. It's from clean meat, and if you have to buy it from the grocery store, which I do from time to time, I will get, oh, that was the right one. I will get that kind, or I will order the organic range chicken, whatever broth from Costco or Sam's Club. They come in 6 or 8 packs. And I always have some of that in my food storage. And I try to always have some of this homemade fresh bone broth in my freezer. We'll get to how I do that later, but I always try to have a stock in there. Sometimes we go through it quicker than others, and sometimes my husband uses the rest of it up, and I don't know what's gone, so I pull something off the shelf. But comparatively, what we're making is the top of the line, and depending on what you get, it's somewhere down here, okay? It's not going to have the gelatin in it.
Right.
It's not going, it will never be gelled. It will never gel. And that's part of the magic of what we want. It will have some of the nutrients, but it won't have the stuff that helps the connective tissue, the skin, the joints, the ligaments, tendons. Okay, so it's okay, I use it, but if possible, I use this. So I got all of the chicken off of there. These are the giblets, straight into there. My pot now looks like this. I'm gonna just leave it like that. Dump all the yucky stuff back in the pot. Okay? Done. My next step is to add to that carcass. I'm going to add some vegetables for flavor and also for nutrition. So you're always going to just get a little extra nutrition from it. You don't have to do the vegetables, okay? And you can do some or all or none. That's on the back side. I usually will add some onion, some garlic, usually some carrot, usually some celery. Those are kind of the all the time ones, if I have them on hand. Today, I happen to have them on hand because I was expecting you guys. So I made sure. Oh, look at that. So this is that little bit that I drained off just before we started, and it's already like gelling. That's good, that's what we want. So, let me wash my hands and then I'll put those in there. Again, because I'm trying to make the bone broth as full of nutrition as I can get it, and then use it in as many dishes that I cook as possible, I try to make it top of the line. So like we already said, like I'll try to get an organic, ideally a free range, pasture, whatever. That means I also try to do organic vegetables to put in. You don't have to, because again, budget is individual, but it's gonna go a long way. And this cost me maybe $5 for all of these vegetables. So onion, carrots, celery is what I'm doing today. I don't have any garlic. And they don't have to be super cleaned up. I'm gonna wash them, peel off the very outside skins. Quarter it. And put it in the pot. We've already got the other yucky stuff. The skin will be strained off, but there's nutrients in the skin. The outside is where most of the minerals from the soil get stored. Okay, so even when I go to the carrot, I'm gonna add 1 carrot because these were very, very happy, large organic carrots, but you can put as much as you want in, okay? So I'll scrub it off. Here's a little tidbit for you. You know how when you wash carrots, it's hard to get all of the nooks and crannies cleaned? That's not generally dirt that's in there. Oftentimes it's actually good bacteria from the soil that has taken up host in the carrot, and you want it. It feeds your good flora in your body. So don't worry about getting it all orange. If there's a little bit of what looks like dirt, it's not dirt, it's good for you. I'm not gonna cut the end off, nothing. I'm just gonna chunk it and put it in. Same with the celery. I already used part of this celery yesterday, and so it's already washed. I'm just gonna use the rest of it. Here's the thing. I cheated a little bit because I needed a little bit of help, and I had a shopping helper help me and bring my stuff to my house. I would normally get the ones that are not just the hearts. Like, I want the leaves, the whole stalk. There's different concentrated nutrients in the leaves. So ideally, that's what I would have. But I made a little bit of a trade-off for convenience. So that's how these ones are. And I'm just gonna chunk it. And it's not exact. You can put in as much or as little as you want. I'm just gonna put some in there. I can throw this in there, but I'm not going to because we'll run out of room. Okay? That's all the vegetables. But yes.
I've got a question about the garlic.
Yeah.
Costco has some minced garlic that's in the jar.
Yep. I buy it all the time.
Is that okay to use in there?
You can. Here's the thing. It's already been minced and processed and heat treated, so you're mostly getting flavor. It will be more nutritious if you just buy a clove of garlic, rinse it off, and put it in. But you don't have to. And that's part of why I don't have garlic today. Oftentimes I will just use the convenient, because I hate mincing garlic. I will use the convenient pre-jarred minced garlic. But for this, you can put the whole thing in, or break off a couple of cloves and put it in, okay? What was next? Active production of new collagen fibers in body tissue. We kind of talked about that a little bit. Do we know why we need collagen? Did you get it when I talked about the skin? It helps keep your skin firm. So, and your skin isn't just the outside. Remember I said it's the largest organ in your body? The whole inside of you is lined with skin. It's part of the integumentary system. My dad likes to say, if he stuck his hand through your mouth, clear down through you to the end, and pulled you inside out, you would still be a sealed vessel, because the skin on our tube is holding everything in, okay? So you can heal your skin internally, which is gut lining, digestive tract lining, esophageal lining, with these same things. So it's not just the outside. A lot of times you're healing and improving those inside things more than you realize because it's not visible to you, okay? I'm gonna start cutting the next thing. So flip to the back, and it says start with the chicken, put it in the stock pot, add an acidic ingredient to enhance nutrition extraction. So our acidic ingredients are either the juice from a lemon or apple cider vinegar, or both. I generally will use both. And then the next thing is to add salt, meaning real salt, mineral salt, not sodium chloride table salt. Those things will help to pull with the heat applied. It will help to pull more of the nutrients from everything that's in the pot, okay? So I'm gonna start chopping onion and, lemon. Again, it's organic because I want this as full of nutrients as I can get it. And I forgot to pull out the vinegar. For the vinegar, I think I said on there a tablespoon or two. It's not an exact science. This is how I measure it. A splash and a splash. You can use up to 1/4 of a cup and it will be fine. You can use as little as a tablespoon and it will be fine, okay? And then the lemon. Here's the secret. I'm gonna juice it, but I'm also gonna throw the rinds in there. So there's not much point in juicing it. It's just how I always do it, okay? So that's gonna go in there. But then the lemon is the rind is gonna go in there because there's also nutrition in the rind, and it will also be added flavor. Okay, so what's next on the front? Who's our next reader?
Digestion, decrease inflammation and soothe the digestive tract.
Okay, and that is largely due to the gelatin portion of what's in the bone broth. I've been asked a few times over the last couple of days, what do you think about so-and-so's collagen? And I said, it's actually good stuff. I think it's overpriced because it is, but also you're only getting the collagen. You're not getting the gelatin, and you'll get as much, if not more, benefit from the gelatin portion of it. Okay, and what it can do is, if you have leaky gut, or if you your cells that line the whole tract start to get pulled apart a little bit, and the whole way through they let bits and pieces, it's almost synonymous with leaky gut, but it can leach out of your digestive tract into your interstitial fluid and into your blood, and slowly, lightly poison you constantly over time. And what's in here with the collagen and the gelatin, it will help to heal that and bring the tight junctions back together. So a lot of people who have tummy troubles, or always are even constipation, or lots of diarrhea, or I had an issue for quite some time. I was eating everything right, but I was still malnourished. So my body would hold on to everything it could, and I would gain weight and get bigger and bigger and bigger because my body was trying to get what it wanted, but I wasn't assimilating it because that tissue was not how it needed. It wasn't healthy, okay? And this can help heal that in that system, okay? Any questions there? I'm getting salt, and I'm going to put, I say on there 1 to 2 teaspoons. That comes out to a half a tablespoon. I usually will just take a tablespoon and put some in it and sprinkle it on, okay? It helps to pull, but also when you use the broth, you want it to have some seasoning. So almost everything you add it to, you're going to add salt to anyway. So you can't, you don't want to put 1/4 cup in, but put some in, and don't be shy about it. Any questions before we move to the next part? No? Okay, so on the method, at this point I have all the yucky from the chicken, I have the vegetables, I have the salt, I have the lemon and apple cider vinegar, and I'm going to put water in it. I generally use pure, clean, filtered water, which is what's going to come out of this faucet, and I'm going to just cover it, okay? Doesn't matter if it's hot or cold because we're going to heat it up. Okay, it's just covered. You can actually more than just cover it because you're gonna refill it tomorrow anyway, and put it on your burner, put the lid on, and for the first hour, well, on the stove, if you're doing it on the stove, you wanna turn it to high and bring it to a boil. As soon as it's to a boil, put it down to a low simmer. And that's where you're gonna leave it for the 12 to 24 hours, okay? I generally, when I make it, Do not do it on the stove top. Partly because it takes up a whole stove, a whole burner, generally for about a week in my house because that's about how long it keeps going. I do it on my slow cooker. So that's what this is. I have a slow cooker base. Clearly it's portable. And normally that's what I would have used, but I used it yesterday, so it was already in use. And I put it, when I do it on the slow cooker or in a crock pot, turn it to high for the first hour and then turn it to low and leave it. Okay? Questions on stove versus slow cooker or crock pot? Nobody's gonna ask about an Instant Pot.
I will.
Okay.
I have one and it has a broth setting. Can
Yeah.
you use that? Is it the same concept?
It's the same concept, it's just under more pressure. So it's like saying, cow, I'm ready to milk you, hurry up. Let me milk you 3 times a day instead of twice a day. So you'll get the nutrients, you'll burn your bones out quicker. If I had an Instant Pot, would still do it this way because low and slow is better. Be gentle with it. But if an Instant Pot is what you have, you can do it in about 4 hours.
You can also do a slow cook on the Instant Pot.
So I don't have one.
You can do it either way.
So I don't know that part of it. So we're good on time. Let's I'll show you a little bit more because we have a pot that went for 24 plus hours here that we're gonna strain and you'll see. But let's go through some more of this on the front. Who's our next reader? Kathleen?
Okay. Let's see. Immune function, gut health. Repair gut tissue, decrease leakage into the bloodstream, increase microbial diversity.
So we kind of already talked about the gut health, repair gut tissue, decrease leakage into the bloodstream. The immune function portion of it comes from increasing the microbial diversity. I don't know how many of you have heard of the microbiome or the zoo within or good bacteria in your gut, but they're all the same thing. It's a microcosm of good bacteria or of bacteria, and we want it to be as good as possible. Somebody help me keep an eye on that if you see it start, because that burner means business. let me know if I need to turn it down because I get into what I'm saying. Through the SAD diet, the standard American diet, a lot of the good bacteria has been completely eliminated and it's all bad bacteria, which is part of why people have so much trouble with anything to do with the waist and below. The better you eat, usually the better that will be. But there's constant turnover. We all need to be working to crowd out the bad bacteria and add as much variety of good bacteria in as possible. There are supplements you can take. Some of you are familiar with Flora Plus, which is one of the best. That adds some strains of bacteria in there that are good. You can also get them from fermented foods, whether it's kombucha or real true sauerkraut or my favorite Bubby's pickles or water kefir or milk kefir or good cultured yogurt. All of those add different kinds of good bacteria back in, and so does this. And you can put this in everything. Well, everything's savory. That's one of the caveats. It needs to be savory, right? So any soups or chilies or stews or sauces, I will always use it when I make spaghetti sauce or if I'm stir frying anything. This is the liquid that I use. Anything that calls for water that's a savory dish, you can sub out with bone broth. It adds flavor and it adds all of these nutritional benefits to it, okay? Next, Gary. Oh, nope, sorry. I don't know your name. Pam? Pam, welcome. I got everyone else's name before we started.
Okay. Sleep, regulation of circadian rhythm and lowering of blood temperature or body temperature at night.
So sleep is one of our most powerful tools for health. The more we can help ourselves get good, sound, solid sleep, the healthier we will be. If that's the only thing this helped, it would be worth it because it affects everything else in your life. You all know when you don't get a good night's sleep, the next day can be rocky. So it helps with the regulation of the circadian rhythm, which is your internal body clock. I don't know how it helps with that, I just know that it does, okay? So it helps you just be ready to wake up when it's time to wake up and go to sleep when it's time to go sleep. And it also will help, especially if you have it in the evening, because of the protein that's in it, the gelatin and collagen are protein. It helps to lower your body temperature so you get to sleep quicker and sleep deeper at night. Okay, any questions on that? Now, Gary.
Blood may increase the plasma levels.
So it may increase the plasma levels of your blood. Why do we care? So one of the things I do is live blood analysis. And when I look at people's blood, the first thing I look at is I take a drop of blood, I put it on the microscope slide, and I put a cover slide over it. And if it spreads out, I already know it's going to be healthier than if I put the cover slide on and it just kind of goes, ugh. It gives a little, if it doesn't spread or if it just a little bit spreads, it's not, it doesn't have the plasma levels that it needs if it just doesn't even spread on the slide. But the blood is what carries throughout your body nutrients to all of the cells. It carries oxygen to all of the cells. And the plasma is what the red blood cells are floating in. So one, you need to have enough to carry it adequately throughout. And two, it needs to be clean enough to carry your blood throughout. So hydration alone, like drinking enough water, helps tremendously with the blood plasma levels, but the bone broth does too. Does that make sense? Does anyone have questions about that? Yes.
Yeah, I do. So when people give plasma instead of this blood,
Yeah.
what do they use the plasma for?
They give it to people who need plasma because a lot of people are low on plasma.
Okay.
Yeah. And the people who are donating the plasma really probably have no business donating it.
Huh?
I said the
No
people,
business?
yes, most of them probably have no business donating it because we need it. And usually our body seeks for homeostasis, which is balance, right?
Right.
Usually you're going to have, if you're functioning properly, you're going to have what you need. You're not going to make too much. You might not have enough because your body doesn't have what it needs to get enough. We just talked about that. But you're not going to have an excess. Okay? So, I mean, it's a little like giving blood. I donated blood in December. I knew I was healthy and could get away. I would make more and I could support my body in making more. And it's a good thing to give blood. They need blood at the hospitals. So, but I knew intellectually I would be depleting my body. And I was fairly certain I could handle it and I could make myself rebound for it. You know what I did when I got home? I did. And salt water. Yeah, and salt water, both of those. Questions? So the next part on this is how to use. Drink it as a warm snack before bed, adding real salt to flavor it how you like it. You can literally just put it in a cup and drink it as like a little, instead of tea or whatever, you can drink the bone broth, and it tastes delicious. Okay?
And it's fulfilling.
Yes, it has protein in it. It's like, it will actually, if you drink it at night, I don't know if anyone cares about this. I did for quite some time, but I cared about losing weight. That protein hit at night is fulfilling, but it also helps your metabolism kick in extra the next day. So it can help you in flattening your belly and losing some weight.
Do you
Yes.
ever microwave it?
Never, ever, 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 ever.
She doesn't microwave it.
Okay, so I can hear it. It's starting. I'm going to turn it down. I actually only own a microwave because the house we bought last summer, they left it. Pride of place on the kitchen counter as a gift. First thing we did before we moved a box into that house, my husband moved it into the garage on the counter because we don't use it. We use the stove or we use this. Like I can pull something out of the freezer, put it on the slow cooker base, defrost it, have it warm, ready to eat when I'm ready for lunch or ready for dinner. Or we use the toaster oven. From time to time, my husband will buy some microwave popcorn and go into his little secret hidey spot in the garage and use the microwave. But it kills everything. You can take your dishcloths that are stinky and sour, microwave them. I actually learned this from a company that sells cleaning products. Put it in the microwave for 1 minute. It will kill all the bacteria.
Awesome.
All of it. Yeah, great trick, right? You don't want that to be happening with your food.
We don't use ours.
It will kill everything. So anything you take out of the microwave and eat, it's filling a void in your belly. That's it. You're not getting any nutrition from it. That was the side angle rant, but very good question. Okay? Don't recommend that one.
Never.
I mean, even when my husband and I got married, so we've been married just over 12 years, he had a microwave, pride of place, on the kitchen counter. I kid you not, from the 80s. It was this big, and I was like, that's not staying in my kitchen. And he said, okay, you're cooking. I said, yep. So it moved into the garage. Same story there. Popcorn every once in a while. So any recipe calling for broth or stock, use it in place of water when making any recipe that's savory. I already kind of talked about this. Use it in place of water when making rice. This is one of the biggest tricks. And I'll tell you, my husband, he's had a lot of damage to his knees, a lot of joint pain, a lot of trouble that way, and he's had some shoulder surgery way back when, and he is absolutely insistent about him keeping our bone broth perpetually going so that when we make rice, it will be made with broth because it helps him and it tastes so much better. Okay? The only time I don't recommend that is if you're going to use the rice to make rice pudding. You don't really want that broth flavor. And then get creative. Look for ways to add it in. You cannot get too much of it. I guess you can always get too much of a good thing. Don't become obsessive or fanatical about it, right? But anywhere you can add it in, add it in. If a recipe calls for wine, you can use bone broth instead. That was everything on the instructions. Does anyone, one of the things on the method when I was talking about adding the vegetables, I have on here potato peels. If throughout the week because we already chopped the couple things and put them in. When you're making other food, say we're making a chicken stir fry tonight. I'm gonna chop the carrots, whatever vegetables, anything from the vegetable I would normally put in the trash can just be chucked in the bone broth pot. Continually.
It just
All week
reminds
long.
me of a compost.
The compost, yeah.
Kind of that way.
Yeah.
It's just gonna add nutrition and flavor, and it's gonna be strained out. You're not gonna eat it, okay? And the potato peels, I like to go in there because, like I said before with the carrot, like the peel of the potato is what has most of the minerals from the potato in it. So if you're peeling potatoes to make mashed potatoes or whatever, put the peels in there, okay? Yes.
Do you ever roast the vegetables before you put them?
I'm lazy, so I don't, but you can. Yeah, you can.
I
Yeah,
have a question.
Yeah.
Sorry, were you done with that one?
you got your answer. Yep.
So it's winter now, but summer will be here sometime, and we will have gardens. What can you use? Like you put carrots in. Can you use the tops of your carrots and put in your
Yes.
broth? What about shells of peas?
Yes. Anything you would put in the compost pot, you can put in your broth pot. It only adds nutrition and flavor. And as the other side of the paper says, get creative. So that was a good question. Thank you. Beet greens, like you're just gonna suck the good stuff out of it.
This is a kind of a crazy question, but would you ever put eggshells in?
You can, I have, because they're minerals. You want to make sure they're good, clean, sourced eggs. And it's just going to add more minerals to it. And here's the trick with that. If there's an excess of minerals that happen to end up in the broth, if you don't need them, your body won't absorb them, it will just eliminate them. But you're not going to end up with an excess. Okay? So let me pull out a couple of things. This, oh shoot, we are low on time. This is my chicken drippings from yesterday. So my chicken I cooked yesterday was a lot juicier just on its first roast. It gave me that much gelatin, okay? When I am ready to take this pot that's been simmering for a full, I don't know, we're probably at 26 or so hours at this point. Sometimes it gets left for 2 days. It's fine. Put the strainer in, and to that I'm gonna pour this. It's not as vibrant as what you just saw in the other pot because the nutrients are getting cooked out. And I'm gonna strain it pretty well. I won't dump everything, partly because it will splash and partly because I don't need to. I'm just gonna add more water to it. You see that? How a lot of the color's gone from the lemon, from the celery. It's now in that broth, okay? Settle it down. Add more water. Add more lemon. Add more vinegar. Add more salt. Repeat.
Each time you do it, okay.
Every time. Yep, because this pot doesn't remember it was in there before. And we want to still keep pulling everything from there. Now, the reason I try to just add it to what I already, so put it on there, turn it on high for the first hour, or on the stove, bring to a boil, turn to a simmer. The reason I add it to what I already had is because then that initial solid base of gelatin will be distributed throughout the batch and the rest of the batches, okay? So each batch I make will be weaker than the first because there's less and less in there to pull out, but I poured it into here, so this is up to here now with liquid, and usually it's in a metal bowl with a lid, and I just put it back in the fridge. And tomorrow I'll add that until this is full, and then I'll put it into containers. By then it's cool, so I'll put it in plastic containers with lids. The Rubbermaid ones from Costco or Gladware, whatever, but get a variety of sizes. So you can have 1 cup, 2 cup, 4 cup portions of broth in the freezer, ready to pull out when you need it. Sometimes you're making a pot of soup and you want 4 cups. Sometimes you're making a stir fry and you just need a cup. So that's how I do it. So I'll pour it out of here into those bowls, put my bowl back in the fridge, and keep adding to it. Okay? So it's still keeping like a consistent gelatin base throughout. And this gelatin, that little bit that we got from, I'm gonna make sure goes in there. And this gelatin that was from my initial roast of chicken number 2 is gonna go in there, but see how it has that white on the top? That's the layer of fat. I'm not gonna use an ice cream scoop, I actually need a spoon. And the good thing is, when it's cold like this, you can just scrape. I'm literally scraping across the top, and the fat comes right off. If it's a good clean animal, you can save the fat in a jar and use it for cooking. I'm not going to, I'm gonna just put it in the trash, and I'm gonna keep scraping. I'm not gonna be worried about getting every last drop because some fat is fine, but I don't want an oil slick on the top of my soup, okay? And then I'll combine these and just keep it going. But isn't that cool? Like, that's straight gelatin. That's gonna help a gut a lot. It's going to help skin and hair and nails a lot. Okay? So not everything is savory. What do you do then? My favorite thing to do is to use these. And quite often, I will add some of these to the soup and spaghetti sauce and whatever I'm making, just to get an extra boost. So Trim Healthy Mama is the company. Everything they make is pristinely clean. And it's as inexpensive as it can possibly be for them to still stay in business. So not only is it some of the cleanest I have found, it's also the least expensive I have found. And I'll take some gelatin. It depends on the size of what you're making. But say, this morning I made a protein shake for breakfast, and I wanted a little extra protein in it because I needed a little more than what it had. I took 1.5 teaspoons of this and 1/2 tablespoon of this and added it to my protein shake. And you know what the best thing was? They're flavorless, so it didn't taste like I was adding bone broth to my shake. But it helped me to get, even in that meal, some of the benefits of bone broth without it being savory. So I'll use these when I make sweet things and also sometimes in the other stuff. Does that make sense? TrimHealthyMama.com is where you get them. I don't get a commission or anything. They're just truly good and inexpensive. One of my other tricks, and I used this quite a bit in December, I had COVID, lucky me, and there were a few days where I was tired enough and feeling unwell enough. I wasn't going to cook anything. I didn't want to eat anything, but if my husband made me something to drink, I would drink it. And he had used up the last of our bone broth, and I happened to always have these also in my stock. They're powdered individual packets of collagen bone broth, and they also have vitamin C in it. So imagine how that little combination helped me when I was sick and needed to get as much nutrients as possible into my body. He would put one of these in 8 ounces of water, and I would have him add half a tablespoon of this and a teaspoon and a half of this to it, because I needed what I could get, and he would put salt and pepper in it and bring it to me. They didn't need the extra things, it's okay on its own, but we were just trying to boost. But they're delicious, and when I travel, this is what I take. It's hard to take this on the road. And like last week, I was gone for 5 days last week. This is what I took. So,
Sorry.
that's okay.
Does that come from this same company?
No, and this is where I had you guys give me your email addresses.
Oh.
I neglected to put this information on the handout, but I will email it to you so you have the links and can get there easily and find exactly what I talked about. Okay, so you can write it down, but I'll just email it to you. These ones come from Isagenix, and they are fantastic. They are, yeah, clean as this. It just has, these are flavorless, and these have flavor, and also the vitamin C in it. So
I'm sorry, I keep
Nope,
interrupting.
questions are great. We're running over. If you guys are okay, I'm okay.
Do you make it a point to drink a cup of broth every night then before you go to bed?
No. I don't make it a point to. I make it a point to try to have a couple of servings throughout the day with whatever works in my schedule. So like I said this morning, I got this in my breakfast. I didn't get any at lunch. Tonight for dinner, I'm making with chicken some of my famous Thai chicken soup. And so I'll get some with that. And if I may or may not have a little bit more at bedtime. It depends on how late I eat. But for a while, I was really focused on healing my gut issues and focused on weight loss. I've lost 118 pounds. And this is one of the tools I used to help with that, okay? And when I was actively in that process, I would probably 5 days a week have some in the evening while watching TV, you know, just not like sitting on the side of the bed drinking it,
Yeah.
but yeah, in the evening. Yeah. So one of the other things that I use, and it's for convenience, but also because it's a different type, also from Isagenix, is the Collagen Elixir. This is a different type of collagen. It's marine collagen. So these are all land animal collagens. There's type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4. These are type 3 and type 4. This is type 1. Type 1 collagen specifically targets your hair, skin, and nails. Okay? It's single serve, twist and drink, or if you want to get fancy like I do, this is what I do in the evening now. I take this and I put it in a fancy glass and put some sparkling water in with it and have a bubbly, juicy, fancy drink. And I'm getting my collagen that way. And I'm doing this specifically because I'm working on what I call Project Skin. With losing that much weight, I have in a few areas some excess skin, loose skin. Also, as we started out, my skin is getting older every day, and I'd like to keep a youthful appearance. It's working, I think, I hope, to improve my skin. It's for sure working to help improve my loose skin. She is nodding over there. She's been helping me. She took a video of me 2 weeks ago in an itty bitty bikini to check how things are coming along. It's private, but things are for sure coming along. So because I'm on a 6-month project skin to see what kind of change I can make with my skin, I'm doing this. Yeah, and I'm doing actually 2 bottles a day, but this is the one I do at night now.
So that's marine collagen.
This is marine collagen. Yeah.
If you were to get some fresh, not farm-raised fish, would it have the marine collagen in it? Or do you know?
So
Or is it different?
I'm not sure. I'll tell you straight up, I'm not sure on that. I think it could have some of it. Some of this actually comes from sea plants, not animals. So I'm not sure how much would be in fish. This is actually the only one that is vegan friendly, because all the rest is animal derived, and this is plant derived. Okay. Any other questions? If not, it's been a pleasure. You guys were great, and I think we covered everything we possibly could. If you have questions later on, you will have my email address, because I will have emailed you the information I forgot to put on that paper. And if you need my phone number, I have cards up here. Okay? So thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.